Hi, it's Dawn from Ninja Bunny Crochet. Today I have for us to make are these cute little apples. They can be used as an apple coaster. They can be an apple applique that you can put on a bag or onto a blanket or maybe even onto a sweater. You can also use these to make a garland. That is what I am going to do. I'm going to make an apple garland out of these. You can make them look like an apple slice like this one, or Granny Smith, or a Red Delicious. So they're pretty versatile. You don't even have to do these colors. You can make any color that you wish. So let me get out the yarn that I used and the hook sizes, and we'll go over all of that before we dig into how to make these cute little apples. For this project I used Red Heart Super Saver. This is a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. It is 100% acrylic. You'll only need a little bit of yarn to make an apple. You'll need about 20 yards total for the entire apple, and that includes all of the colors. The colors I used for the red apple is cherry red. For the green apple, I used spring green. For the center of the apple slice, I used Aran. For the leaf, Patty Green. And for the stem, I used Cafe Latte. Now, again, you can use whatever colors you have left over, you know, those little bits and pieces that you have. It doesn't exactly have to be these colors. I do recommend a medium 4 yarn, though, because that's otherwise your apples might be either a little bigger or a little smaller. But if that's the size you're looking for, that would work great. As long as each color is the same weight yarn, it should work out fine. The hooks that I used for the apple itself, I used an I 5.5 millimeter hook. For the leaf and the stem, I used a G 4.0 millimeter hook. You're going to want a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to weave in all of your ends. And just in case, you may want to have some stitch markers on hand just to make sure, you know, because we are working in the round, if you have some trouble finding that first stitch, so that you don't lose your place. Once you have all of your supplies, let's get started. To start the apple, we're going to start with a magic ring. If you're unfamiliar with a magic ring, or it's just not your thing, you can start with a chain of 4 and put all the double crochets that we're going to do into the 4th chain from hook, or that very first chain that you made. How I start my magic ring is I place my yarn, this is the end, facing you, over your first 2 fingers, lock it down with your thumb, wrap it around and form an X on the back of your fingers. Place your hook under the bottom strand, turn, grab that top strand, pull it through, twist, grab your working yarn and make a chain stitch. That locks it in. And since we're going to be working in double crochets, we're going to do 2 more chains, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. We're going to place 11 more double crochets into the ring. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11. Now that should give us a total of 12 stitches. So we just count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And go ahead and pull up tight down that magic ring and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Again, if you lose track now that you've pulled it tight, just go ahead and count back again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here's where you're going to slip stitch into the top. I'm going to get into both of those stitches, just like that, and slip stitch. And that is round 1. To start round 2, we're going to chain up 3, and again that'll count as a stitch, and we're going to double crochet back into the same stitch we just slip stitched into, and 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So continue working 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around till you get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 2. We now have 24 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into that top of that chain 3. Now to start round 3, we're going to chain up 3 again, counts as a stitch, and we're going to double crochet 2 times into the next stitch. 1 and 2. And we're going to double crochet once into the next stitch, so 1 double crochet into the next, and 2 double crochets into the next. And it's going to be our repeat all the way around. 1 double crochet into the next, and 2 double crochets into the next. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. So please continue this pattern all the way around to get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 3. We have 36 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. Now this is the tricky round for round 4. We're going to chain 1 and single crochet back into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and single crochet into the next stitch. The next stitch we're going to place a double crochet. The next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Our next stitch will be 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, a double crochet, and the next stitch gets a double crochet. Next stitch gets a half double crochet, and our next stitch gets a single crochet. Now the next 5 stitches are going to be slip stitches. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next stitch will get 2 half double crochets. 1 and 2. The next 2 stitches, each stitch is going to get 2 double crochets. 1 2, and 1, 2. Now the next one gets a slip stitch. That forms that little dimple at the bottom of the apple. Next stitch gets 2 double crochets. And our next stitch also gets 2 double crochets. The next stitch gets 2 half double crochets. And then we're ready to do 5 slip stitches in our next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next stitch is a single. And the next stitch is a half double crochet. The next 2 stitches are double crochets. The next stitch is 2 double crochets. Then the next stitch is 2 half double crochets. Next stitch is a double crochet. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, and our last stitch is a slip stitch. Then we just slip stitch to join and fasten off. Back out the camera just a tad bit here so you can see we have that apple shape. And we just gotta weave in our ends and do our leaf and our stem. Okay, to make the leaf we're going to use our G hook, and I'm going to use the Patty Green color. I'm going to start with a chain of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now second chain from hook, the loop on your hook does not count as a stitch, so we go 1, 2 with a single crochet. The next stitch we're going to do a half double crochet, and the next stitch a double crochet, and the next 5 stitches are treble crochets. Treble crochets, you yarn over twice, insert into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. I'm going to do that 4 more times. One, 2, get some more yarn out. 3, 4 for a total of 5 treble crochets. Then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch, half double in the next, and then in the very last stitch we're going to put 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Flip the work over and we're going to work along the opposite side of the chain. You can work over your tail if you want, or you can push it aside and weave it in later. For tutorial purposes, I'm just going to push it to the side so you can see what I'm doing. In that first stitch or the next stitch, we're going to place a half double crochet, then a double crochet in the next. On the next 5 stitches we're going to do treble crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and whoops, gotta do treble. And 5. More yarn out. Then we're going to do a double crochet in the next, then a half double crochet, and in the very last one we're going to do, oops, put the yarn there, 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then slip stitch to that very first stitch that you made and fasten off. And you might want to leave a little bit of a tail so that you can sew your leaf on to your apple. And I'm just going to go ahead and weave that end in, and we'll work on the stem. To make our stem, I'm going to be using my Cafe Latte color and the G hook, 4mm. I'm going to start with a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and oops, 7. We're going to do second chain from hook. Loop on our hook does not count as a stitch, so 1 and 2. And we're just going to single crochet our way down the chain. So we're going to have 6 stitches, and then we're just going to fasten off at the end. Very simple little stem. Just like that. Go ahead and fasten right off. Give yourself a little bit of a tail. And now we're just ready to sew everything together. Now how I do this is I just pretty much hold everything together. I put the stem and the leaf together and just go through both with the tail, just like that, and just stitch everything together. Now you can stitch your stem on first if you want with your brown, and then lay your leaf over the top and stitch your leaf on separate too. It's really up to you. I just stitch it all together because it just seems a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, especially if you're going to use it as an applique and you're going to stitch all around the edge again anyway. It just seems like a little overkill to stitch twice, but it's really up to you. I will go down along the edge here on the apple itself, stitching the leaf down to the apple. I just go right under the edge of the stitches. Oops. Make sure your thread doesn't come out of your needle. Now you can put your leaf facing the other direction if you want to. You don't have to face it to the left like I am. You can face your leaf to the right, whichever way you choose. And then you can just go ahead and weave it back under. You might want to weave it in a few times and weave in these ends, and you're all set. And that is how you make your little apple. Now if you wanted to do the apple slice, you would change your color at the end of round 3, and I can go ahead and show you that in just one moment. I will work up a piece up to round 3 and show you how to change colors, and we'll go over round 4 one more time. Okay, to make the apple, the sliced apple, you're going to want to do rounds 1 through 3 like I did here in the Aran color or your off-white color. You can just back up the video and if you need help doing that instead of me repeating that. So I took the liberty and went ahead and got the 3 rows done. Now I'm going to show you how to switch colors, and then we're going to go over round 4 one more time. So we're going to do our slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, just like this, but instead of pulling up our Aran color, we're going to snip this color off, and we're going to grab our skin color, which I'm going to do green for the Granny Smith. And we can go ahead and just put a little knot in these. Not real super tight, just a little knot to hold them together. You can always untie it later before you weave them in. I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to put a single crochet right back into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into. Now it's going to be a little tight because we just changed colors. And a single crochet into the next stitch. Our next stitch will be a double crochet, and into the next stitch we're going to put 2 half double crochets. The next stitch is 2 double crochets. The next stitch is double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2 will be double crochets. Half double crochet in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next. And here's where we're going to put our next 5 stitches, slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2. Then we're going to put 2 double crochets in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Let's get that out of the way. Next stitch is a slip stitch, and we're at that dimple at the bottom of our apple, and we're going to do 2 double crochets in next 2 stitches. So 2 double crochets, then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 2 double crochets into, 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And we're going to do our 5 slip stitches into the next stitches. So 1 slip stitch into the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single crochet into the next, half double crochet into the next, double crochet to the next 2 stitches, so 1 and 2, 2 double crochets into the next, 1 and 2, 2 half double crochets into the next. Oops, let's do that again. 1 and 2, double crochet into the next, 2 single crochets into the next, 1 single crochet, then 1 single crochet into the next, slip stitch into the last stitch, and then slip stitch to join, just like we did last time. And we go ahead and fasten off, and we have our sliced apple. And we're going to go ahead and get all those ends woven in, and we're going to put our seeds around the center. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my ends all woven in. I went ahead and made a leaf and a stem to put on there, and we're just gonna take some of the brown, I did the cafe latte, and we're just gonna put a couple of stitches in the center here, just like that, to look like apple seeds. I did 4 of them. Now you can put more in there or you can put less, whichever you prefer. I just put 4 little stitches in there. Now that one doesn't look quite like a full stitch, so I might want to go ahead and redo that one. That one looks a little bit short. So you want to make sure that you get a nice full stitch. So it's like there's no rhyme or reason to it, no perfect way to do it. Just want to kind of, wherever you think it looks good, just go ahead and, there, that looks better. Put a little stitch in there. you do it on top of the double crochet, it seems it stands out a little bit better. Just put it over the top of one of the double crochets. Just like that. There you go. And you make 4 little seeds. And then you just weave these in, or I'm just going to go ahead and put a little knot on there because whether you were going to use it as an applique or like I'm going to do mine as a garland, I think a knot would just be perfectly fine for that. So there we have a little apple slice. Now if you get a little curling, I mean that's just normal, that's going to happen. If you want, you can always block them, block your pieces. That's completely up to you. So here's our Granny Smith, and these are our apples that we had in the beginning. Just back out the camera a little bit so you get to see all the apples. Push the laptop out of the way. And there's our little apples. So if you've liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring that bell. Thanks for watching and happy crocheting. Bye-bye.